yes, for this I wanted to make this question because some history, you see, I wanted to put this map because in France, when people tell me where are you from, I tell the south. But for example, in France, people think that the south I put with it's just here. Here is more or less Valencia. It's the same level that Sicilia. You see, I think, no, it's not the south. Why do you think the south is here? No, my south is exactly, why? Because it's exactly the European southern point, is the more meridional, like you tell, because in the planet we are like that, and we are more in the south. It's for this we are at the same level, more or less like Malta and Tunis, and yes, more or less in this level, like that, to see more or less the south. Interesting, no? Because yes, a lot of people tell me, yes, the south, you come from Valencia. No, Valencia is the Levante. Yes, it's not the south. It's exactly here. Okay, it's for this that I wanted to explain here. I put some data about the history, how was the origin of this city, and what I want to explain later, I have record here. I put that here was founded by the Roman in the 1st century, and was called at the beginning in this year in 710 Tarif ibn Malik, is for this the name. And in 960 the Caliph of Fort was built by mandate of the Rahman III. Is for this one, don't mix for later, that who built the castle. Even if the castle, the name is Guzmán el Bueno, was this guy who built this castle, okay? Because a lot of period to remember, a lot of things, a lot of mix, Moroccan, Christian, a lot of things in the history. And in the 1085, the Almoravid began the conquest of Al-Andalus. Al-Andalus is Andalusia, is not only Tarifa, it's all the south in Spain, with a lot of history, Cordoba and all. And 1147 is the Almohad, who came the 12th century, were important of Tarifa for them. And 1231 was controlled by the Merindis until it became depending again of Taifa Kingdom of Algeciras. You see, Tarifa and Algeciras is very close. In 1292, the fortification was won from the Muslim by Sancho IV of Castile, called the Bref. And in 1340, the Battle of Salado was the famous battle, combined with force from Castile and Portugal. There is something of Portugal here, where they definitely defeat the Merindis. Okay, was in this battle where we got the city, and was because what at the beginning there was a lot of conquer and all, and was here where was exactly a city here in Spain. And I want to put something that I wanted to record to explain more about this, because I didn't have place to put, and I think it's better to, yes, well, I want to listen. I hope it's good.
It is the southernmost town in Europe, founded by the Romans in the 1st century. Important archaeological sites have been found in the municipality, such as the necropolis of the Algarves, the most important funerary monument of the Bronze Age in the province. The Phoenicians, Greek, and Carthaginians settled on the isle of Tarifa, Isla de las Palomas, but with the Romans it began to acquire its true importance with the settlement of Julia Traducta, the current Tarifa, Melaria, and Bailo Claudia on the beach of Bologna. Named after Tarif ibn Maluk, the Berber chief who accompanied Tarif ben Ziyad, an Arab leader who defeated Don Rodrigo at the Battle of La Handa in 711. The centuries of Muslim domination have left their mark on the city. The town was taken from the Muslims in the 1292 by Sancho IV of Castile, called it El Bravo. Sancho placed Alonso Pérez de Guzmán, Lord of Niebla and Nebrija, in command of the plaza. In 1294, the Infante Don Juan, King Sancho's brother, offered King Mohammed II of Granada the opportunity to betray the Castilian crown and recover Tarifa. The assault on the castle being impracticable, Don Juan resorted to a trick threatening Guzmán. If he didn't surrender the fortress, they could kill his previously kidnapped son. Guzman's response to this threat becomes famous. If you don't have a dagger to kill him, here is mine. For this defense of the town, Alonso Pérez de Guzmán would receive the nickname El Bueno. After the Christian conquest, it was a border area for a long time, first with the Kingdom of Granada and then after the fall of the Nasrid Kingdom as a stronghold against Berber pirates, and as late as the 18th century a military enclave to counter the English possession of Gibraltar. One of the most emblematic places in Tarifa. It is the main access through the medieval walls. Following the disappearance of the Sea Gate, located in the west, and the Refuge Gate to the east, today the location of the General Copons and Navia statue, the Jerez Gate is an icon of the town. As seen today, it is a mixture of Muslim and Christian construction. The original gate is the innermost part formed by a horseshoe arch in brick. Inside the interesting ward's recess you can see an engaging painting. The gate lies between two towers which have been lowered. Christians had an extension to the gate, the outermost part, which ends in an elegant pointed arch formed by arches supported by two half columns. An emblem above the gate is in memory of the conquest of the city by Sancho IV the Brave in 1292.
We used this free tour, was real. And here we connected in Civitatis, is a operator here in Spain, very famous, that they start to do a lot of excursion. And I have discovered here, I work in the tourism, I have discovered this company and they organize very, very good tours. They are free. And here I have my memories that I wanted to show that we organize in the other group. But before here, I found in 3 minutes, more or less, what you are going to see. Normally the visit is going to take 2 hours and a half. It's going to be long. But here we are going to make a little resume in 3 minutes, okay? Here is a place where you can find a lot of bar at night, very, very animated. Tapas and all, and music in the city. Here you see Atlas. Just here is Africa. This is the mountain. You see it's very close. We are exactly in the Strait of Gibraltar, and at the left is Ceuta. We are very close for North Africa. It's amazing. Here is the way to Algeciras and Europe. All this is Morocco. this is Gibraltar to finish. Very good view. It's the first time that I meet last September. It's a new guide. It's the young generation, but he's very performance and did a very good visit. Normally it's 2 hours, but he stayed with us 2.5 hours, even that we enjoyed. And yes, and after he is going to give you all the tip, all the best place to take the tapas to go out and all. And I think that it's very good. I wanted, yes, he wanted to come here, but you see, not everybody is very, they don't understand the thing of internet, but it's better I invite you only to contact directly because online was not easy. I wanted to make the visit with him, but it's better to make directly. I prefer to show what I did with him, but if you want to know more, you can see with him. And yes, and here we're going to start because yes, this is the Castillo Guzmán el Bueno. It's very strange because they put this name for the end, but not from the origin. It's very strange. For the origin is more or less, I tell you, that was Rahman III that who built this, but after that was a different period, and there is different time at this time. And it's for this that it's good to understand the history. You have the best view of Africa is in the history and in the world was the best situation for in this time with all the battle and all. Here we to start with the Castillo de Guzmán el Bueno.
Within the extensive historical artistic heritage of Tarifa, we shouldn't fail to visit the Castillo de Guzmán el Bueno. Declare it an asset of cultural interest and a national monument since 1931. This 9th century fortress belonging to the Umayyad Caliphate and was built by Abd al-Rahman III al-Nasir, one of the best locations between Europe and Africa for Muslims. Raised on the ruins of a possible Roman military camp, it has an irregular quadrilateral shape, is crenellated and dates from the Caliphate era. The castle has had many occupants, both Muslim and Christian, and has resisted several hard sieges. The Almohad built a formidable defensive structure, raising the coracha, a long wall that goes from the castle to a colossal tower with an octagonal base, popularly known as the Guzman Tower. The castle is famous for the heroic gesture of Alonso Pérez de Guzmán, then mayor of the fortress. In 1294, the Muslims besieged the castle. Having previously caught the son of Don Alonso, they urged him to surrender the place of his son Ugulday. Don Alonso Pérez de Guzmán preferred to sacrifice his son rather than deliver the population, even offering, from the octagonal tower, his own knife so that he could kill him.
You see, it's to tell more or less in the history is that he preferred to kill his son to preserve the city. And it's for this the name of Guzmán el Bueno. It's difficult to understand, but yes, it's very interesting in the history. If you want to know more, yes, in the castle you have more the thing and all, and it's very interesting to see. And yes, and here you see, I wanted to put this because to start when we are in the visit and after the castle, we are going to, okay, we start with the old city, is what I put that made the guide and the experience. We pass to the castle and after we are going to finish more or less here. And what is that? Because now when you go there, you think that is something like Hitchcock, like something that, wow, is terror, what is happened there? We're going to make a Halloween party. Now there is nothing, but they tried to make a lot of things. And now it's abandoned, it's nothing there. Okay, but it's for this that it's very interesting because you see on the beach something like that in the hill, and but there was something before that they wanted to explain here. And yes, it's
a few steps from the port of Tarifa and about 300 meters from Guzmán el Bueno Castle, we reach Santa Catalina Hill, on which you can see a peculiar castle. It hasn't being the subject of a romantic stories of princes and knights. It's a former hermitage dedicated to the saint who gives it that name. The hermitage had only one nave and a small bell gable. Being a secluded place, it served as a quarantine during the epidemic plague of the 17th century, but soon, due to its high position and strategic view of Las Palomas Island and Guzmán el Bueno Castle, the hill began to have military use. In 1771, the Hermitage was converted into a gunpowder store, and during the War of Independence, the English demolished it and begun creating an artillery fort of which remains can still be seen. In 1928, the Navy Command ordered the construction of a castle to complement Tarifa Lighthouse. The building works finished in 1933. After the Civil War, the defense were reinforced around it with several bunkers communicating with each other by tunnels. In 1972, the Navy Meteorological Observatory was installed there, which in 2000 moved elsewhere, the ownership of Santa Catalina passing to the municipality. Unfortunately, now it's abandoned and deteriorating.
You see a lot of things you can find there, but now there is nothing. I don't know what is the next project. Why not? Maybe for next year they're going to make a discotheque. I don't know. I'm joking, but I don't know. But now there is nothing. Yes. And here is the famous Islas de las Palomas. This is exactly the point of Europe, exactly the south of Europe, because we don't have more south after Africa. And yes, and you see, it's good, interesting. Before there was nothing here. That was exactly an island. But we're going to tell here who built this bridge. Here on the right, we can see the Playa Chica. It's normally the local place. The small beach is for the Chica, because it's where local people in Tarifa live there go. And on the left, we have La Playa de los Lances, is the big one, where people come to make surf, windsurf, and because you see in Tarifa you have a lot of wine. We are between two seas. We have Atlantic on the left, Mediterranean on the right. Sometimes you have a lot of wine, very, very strong. It's for this that is a city of the windsurf too. And people that is very fanatic of this, but they come here, and on the left, you can surf, you can windsurf, you can do all the sky surf with all. And yes, you are going to see a very nice landscape with all these people that made the sport. Okay, and what is it? Is Isla de las Palomas, that now is open.
Dove Island, otherwise called Tarifa Island, is the most southerly point in Europe. It's currently home to a lighthouse located in a 16th century beacon tower. Until 1808, the island remained separated from Tarifa. That year the road to the island was built by Antonio González Salmón, who was also responsible for the wharf that serves as port of Tarifa. On the island there are remains of at least 5 Phoenician Punic hypogea underground tombs. The island is formed from two types of rock. The lower strata is made up of silica sandstone, and on top of this an upper layer popularity known as ostionera, oyster or shelling stone. Practically the whole island surface has been greatly altered by quarrying, where since Roman times phosphorus limestone for construction has been systematically extracted, for example Guzmán el Bueno Castle. The island doesn't house fortification except the aforementioned towel dating back to 1588, and it was not until the 19th century when, after the French invasion, a fortified inner harbour was built, together with an artillery battery, some barracks, and an impressive underground ammunition dump. The land was the property of the Ministry of Defense until it was declared a terrestrial marine public domain in 1988. The subsequent declaration in 2003 of the Natural Park of the Strait of Gibraltar meant the protection of the island and its immediate water due to its special ecological value.
You see, always we speak about here a little about the French invasion. Here we're going to see in the visit. No, if you made the visit of the old city that that was a part of French. Like always, Napoleon was everywhere. But this is in the visit that is interesting to do. We did in the visit of 2 hours and was very interesting. And yes, and we can't miss this one, Bailo Claudia. This is more of one of the older ruins that we can find there, and is to visit. It's just near the beach, and is we have found all the city. You can, if you go now, you are going to see all the city, the Roman city, like that in the country, and it's very interesting. And yes, we can speak more like here to it, like that for. It's better to see that because we're going to understand the influence in the gastronomy later. Because yes, we have an influence of Roman, of course, and the Phoenicians, and it's for this that after we're going to understand why this kind of food and all.
Baelo Claudia. The ancient Roman city of Baelo Claudia is located in Bologna, about 14 miles northwest of the city of Tarifa. The study of architectural remains show its Roman origin from the late 2nd century BC, when it became an important economic center in the Mediterranean. A Phoenician Punic settlement, Bailoku, its existence is closely related to trade with North Africa. It was the main seaport that connected with the city of Tanger in Morocco. Bailo Claudia may have had other administrative functions, but fishing, salting industry, and garum. Garum is a sauce derived from it, were the main source of wealth. The Roman Emperor Claudius made it part of the municipalium and therefore a Roman town. Town life reached full bloom between 1st BC and 2nd AD, but began to decline from the second half of the century when a large tsunami devastated much of the city. Following this disastrous effect, and adding to the crisis of the 3rd century, were the hordes of pirates, mostly Mauritanians and Germans. Although it experienced a slight rebound in the 3rd century, the city was finally abandoned in the 7th century. In this site are the remains of the most representative elements of a Roman city. It had a fence or wall, administrative buildings, and the curia, local senate. The municipal archive, a public square, a palace of justice, which located in front of the temple, is rectangular and measures more or less 19.5 by 30.5 meters and was dominated by a statue of the Emperor Trajan, over the 3 meters height. 4 temples, 3 devoted to each of the components of the Capitoline triad, Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva, and one dedicated to the Egyptian goddess Isis, related to the cult Isiaca on the peninsula, were recently discovered by a group of archaeologists. The largest building is the Teatro Baelo Claudia. Also visible are the remains of shops, tabernae, the market, Macellum, original enclosed for the sale of meat and food, consisting of 14 stores and an interior courtyard, a spa thermae, and a theatre. This listed archaeological site has an adjoining museum designed by architect Guillermo Vázquez Consuegra and built in 2007.
Now to the gastronomy to finish. Yes, you see I have put a mix of all the tapas that you can find and more. I put a little more or less what you can find. Of course, we have here the ton with onion, is la ventresca, is very sweet, it's very tender, very sweet, is the best, is the highlight that you need to taste there, is of the influence of all this time. We have the pimientos del piquillo, also too. You have la tortilla de camarones. We tell in Spanish with this, that is a must to do. After we have las torrijas with sugar, just here. And here that you see with the egg, the name is tagarninas. Tagarninas is exactly something very typical. And here down on the left, we don't see a lot, is the typical puchero that we tell. Now for winter is very nice and everybody take. Okay, and I wanted to explain because even in the gastronomy, you have some influence of culture, some mix of culture. I think Tarifa is a mix of culture from Roman, from Phoenician, from Greek, from Muslim. You see, it's a mix of all, and you can find all this in the food. It's for this, and yes.
The gastronomy of Tarifa is in the tradition of both land and sea. Simple dish, but tasty thanks to the quality and variety of local fresh products. Let's start with the ton, the famous ton. Okay, tuna is the name in English. Tuna, this big fish cross the Strait of Gibraltar every year on their way from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean, where they go to spawn. The migration has been used since the Phoenicians and later by Romans, Arab, and Christian to capture a large number of fish. The fishing gear used to this is called almadraba, ventresca, tarantelo, white tail, black tail, plate, sirloin, and more are the names of different pieces of tuna. Their color, texture, and appearance vary substantially from one to another. The culinary versatility of bluefin tuna is immense from the traditional cuisine of Cadiz, with its different preparation and stew, to the most exotic cuisines of Asia or the devout Japanese tradition. Tuna cooked with onions is very popular, typical of the Andalusian Atlantic coast. Fried fish is the absolute star of the cuisine of Tarifa, economic and tasty, prepared with a variety of blue fish and crustaceans. Camarones, tiny shrimps, a specialty that you should not miss, are usually cooked in the form of a small tortilla. One of the most characteristic preparations here is the adobo, marinade, typically used for the cazón in Cadiz. A small shark, marinate for about 4 hours in a pleasant acidic sauce. Another product of the area is the sea anemone exquisite. Okay, during the summer month we can try snails, cooked in tomato sauce, wine, and laurel. Another highlight is the puchero, consisting of the broth of chickpeas, carrot, celery, leeks, ham bone, salty bacon, hog, and chicken meat. The ingredients of this broth are also used to make other dishes such as ropa vieja or croquetas, also traditional in Cadiz area. Among the most typical vegetable dish in tagarninas stew. Okay, if meat is your passion, you will love Reintinton beef, The province of Cádiz stands out for having one of the most important livestock sectors in Spain. Well adapted to the environment, this animal is robust, with beautiful horn and above all the intense red color of its hide, which gives rise to its name. Its flesh is tender, juicy and tasty, with an intense pink color. It's excellent grilled, but is also ideal when used in many of the typical dishes of this area, such as piquillo papers, stuffed with meat, bunclet, oxtail and steward is the red one on the left. And last but not least, the dessert, of course. People from all over the region come every Sunday to buy tranvías. Yes, tranvías. Very popular in Tarifa, made from sheet and puff pastry with custard and chocolate on top. After we have another dessert, call it cajilla. A big cookie is filled with a mass of almonds and then covered with a glaze. And after we have the famous torrijas, made with the bread, milk and wine, are the start of the Easter confectionery.
Okay, yes, something to eat. Yes, to know this is very important. Do it very well there. Yes, I wanted to tell after the gastronomy that we are going to have a bonus because yes, we can't leave Tarifa if we don't do one day in Tanger. Of course, they are in front. It's like the brother, the sister, and it's for this I have found this tour is very amazing. I have more information, for example, there in the cultural day. You can stay more days, but for one day is perfect.
Let's discover the Moroccan city of Tangier with its cultural day trip including all transfers. The excursion departs from the port of Tarifa. You will board a fast ferry to the port of Tangier city. Once you arrive, you will meet your guide who will take care of you to the most interesting place in the city. You will take a panoramic and walking tour. You will visit Cape Spartel, the impressive Sultan's Palace, and stroll through the cafés, the Medina, and the souk. Arrived at the souk, you will have free time to stroll through each street, full of colors and smells, and buy souvenirs there. The excursion includes lunch in a typical Moroccan restaurant, where you will taste the best dish from its gastronomy in an unique environment. Finally, you will return to the port of Tangier city and take ferry back to Tarifa. And don't forget, if you speak French, you can practice French there. If you speak French, or si vous parlez français.
I wanted to show my group in international in person. What I spoke before is Paris Travel Addict group. Is here where we do exactly all the trip, all the thing in person. We were in Montenegro. We were in Oktoberfest last week. We were in a lot of places, and yes, and it's for this I put this picture. I wanted to show you a little more about the picture about this experience in Tarifa with internation if you want, but for this I need to open another window.